Gerard, any other thoughts on that in terms of the teenage girls and the use of the pill and any potential side effects?
Yeah, there's so much to say about it. One thing that is really important is that often a mom who cares for her daughter will take her to the OB. She's starting having her cycle, and there are issues, and that is kind of an automatic reflect from the OBGYN or the doctor to say, okay, well, let's put her on contraception. That will regulate her cycle. She won't have those issues, and this is how it starts, really. Okay, so what is really important to know? I mean, first of all, as Grace was saying, there are dangers, and we talked about blood clot, we talked about cancer, which is actually more prevalent, or the risk of cancer is more it's higher for young women who take the pill before they first get pregnant. So that's a big thing to remember. Cervical cancer, huge increase of risk, right? And we talk about HPV, and so if you have HPV and then you get on the pill, your risk of cervical cancer is increased by 60%. Wow. Another big thing. But there are other issues like mental health issues. Depression is completely documented. Issues with bone issue, breaking bones. So Depo-Provera, especially, we talked a little bit about that. You mentioned that. So there's a myriad of issues, immunodeficiency, and risk for autoimmune disease. You won't hear that from the doctor. So that's just that's the cocktail that you're putting in your body, and so again, as parents, be really careful, really do your research. There are also some young women, and you mentioned blood clot. When we started, we met with several families of or parents of young women who had died from a blood clot. Okay, all these women were healthy, they were not smoking, they had no risk. I mean, the typical thing is if you're 35 and you smoke, you could have blood clot issue. It's not true. It could be anyone, right? And that all these young women who died had none of those risk factors. So something to be really aware about. The other thing, there's a very interesting study that I read recently from 2018 that showed the correlation between women who are also young women, teenager 15 to 21, who are on the pill, and their behavior. So it's about, the estimate I read is about 40% of young women who are between this age group are actually taking a birth control method, right? And among them, so there's a big study called the National Survey of Family Growth. You're probably familiar with that, right? That kind of looks at what's happening in a large sample of the population. And this study was analyzing what is happening to these girls, right, who are on the pill versus those girls who are not on the pill. And the first thing that they observe is that the likelihood of, the age, actually the mean age of sexual debut activity was 16 versus 18 between the two groups, right? So the young women who were on the pill started having sexual activity at 16 years old versus 18 for the ones who were not. Okay, they were greater than 7 times. They had greater than 7 times the risk of being sexually active compared to those who were not, and they had more sexual partners. So that's kind of like just this group, had higher risk of issue with sexual activities. There were also 3 times the likelihood of having an STD, and 3 times the likelihood of getting pregnant. So it's interesting. You hear the rhetoric about, well, okay, we gotta put our these young women on the pill because it's gonna protect them from getting pregnant, and it doesn't really protect them, and it adds some more risks.
Yeah, no, I think that's a hugely important point because, I mean, the Planned Parenthood groups and SICUS and all the sex ed programs in the schools are like, hey, we need this just for the public health safety of the young women. But if you're giving them a drug that's lowering their inhibitions, giving them a false sense of security to engage in risky behavior, you're increasing the likelihood that they'll have these multiple partners. And the number one determining factor of if a person gets a sexually transmitted disease is the number of lifetime sexual partners. It's like trying to put out a bonfire by throwing a tank of gasoline on it. It's like, we just need to throw more of this on it, and then it's going to put out. So to me, it's a hugely important point, just the behavioral influence of contraception, not only on the girl, but even on the boys. I mean, I've had high school guys tell me that if they know a girl is on birth control, I remember one boy saying to me, it's like she has a sign on her back that just says open for business. Right. And it's like, I mean, sociologically, the impact that this is having, I mean, apart from the hormonal stuff, because this isn't just like for teenage girls. I mean, you had mentioned like the blood clot. I mean, because the pill increases the amount of estrogen in the woman's body, and estrogen enhances blood clotting. I've read in some of the pill, you read the fine print and it says, girls, if you're on the pill, and women, if you're going on a long plane ride, make sure to get up and walk back and forth on the plane a couple of times. It's like, dude, why are you telling the girl to get up and walking back and forth on an airplane because she's on birth control? Well, because if you're sitting for a prolonged period of time with pressure under your thighs, it can contribute to the clotting of those arteries. And you can get this deep vein thrombosis of a blood clot in your vein. And it's like, dude, to me, I mean, the Planned Parenthoods of the world saying, we want women to have all the information on contraception, birth control. Dude, trust me, if women had all the information on contraception, birth control, you, Planned Parenthood, would go completely out of business overnight. You only exist by withholding information from women, because if they knew the truth on this stuff, they wouldn't buy this stuff. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that little clip, but if you want to see the whole episode where this came from, just click the link here. And in the meantime, we want to invite you to help us share this message, and there's a couple things you can do real quick. Number one, if you like or comment or share this video, YouTube will actually show it to more people. Also, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell. We release videos every single day, and you'll be notified as soon as those come out. If you want to help us also to spread this message, you can support us at patreon.com/Jason Evert. That helps us to create these videos and show them to the whole world. God bless.